My name is Nova, and I'm 28 years old. From the outside, my family always looked perfect, like the kind of middle-class American dream people post about online. We had a charming house in Brookhaven, with lavender bushes blooming under the windows and warm yellow lights glowing through sheer curtains in the evenings. But behind that picture-perfect image, there was a truth I never shared. Because inside those walls, I was invisible. I was the firstborn of my parents, Calvin and Marcia, two people obsessed with appearances and expectations. My father, a former finance manager who prided himself on structure and results, wanted a daughter who would make him proud on paper. My mother? She devoured every parenting book she could find before I was born, convinced she could raise the next prodigy if she followed all the modern methods. From the moment I could walk, I was part of an experiment. I wasn't treated like a child. I was a project. Timed, tested, trained. But when I didn't learn to read by age 3 or solve puzzles at the level of a 6-year-old, the warmth in my mother's smile began to fade. She once said to my father while I was coloring on the floor, "I don't think she's capable of learning as fast as we hoped. We need to intervene early so we don't miss the golden stage." My father didn't argue. He just nodded and looked at me like I was a broken investment. I didn't understand any of it at the time. I just knew something was missing, something that made me feel like a shadow in my own home. And then came Lena. When my younger sister Lena was born, everything in our house changed. Suddenly, every room overflowed with soft music, colorful brain-boosting toys, imported educational books, and gadgets I had never even seen before. Our home transformed into what felt like a prep school disguised as a nursery. Lena became the sun around which our entire household orbited. At only 7 months old, she had a musical high chair that played Mozart when she tapped her spoon. My mother would beam proudly and say, "She responds to 3-step sequences already. Isn't she brilliant?" I still remember sitting quietly in the corner of the living room, trying to build something out of old Lego blocks, when my mother walked past and said with a smirk, "Lena is already so engaged. You never really had that spark, Nova. But keep playing." By the time Lena turned 2, she had a private language tutor. And me? I had pre-printed workbooks from the dollar store, a stubby pencil, and daily reminders that I needed to try harder. I kept my head down. I studied. I learned to do my own hair. I even made lunch for both of us when my mother was too busy enrolling Lena in her 3rd enrichment program. I wanted to believe I'd get credit for being responsible, for being consistent. But praise was something I only ever heard secondhand when Lena was being compared to me. At school, I once won 2nd place in a district-wide art contest. I came home with a wide smile, clutching my painting like a treasure. My mother glanced at it for 2 seconds and replied flatly, "Huh. Well, Lena, just read an entire short story today. In English." My father was in the basement that day, installing a logic board for Lena's puzzle wall. That was the moment I stopped bringing my achievements home. There was no point. In their eyes, I was a shadow, and Lena was the light. By the time I turned 12, I had gotten used to being overlooked. I didn't expect birthday parties. I didn't expect congratulations. I didn't even expect a good job when I made the honor roll. But there was one thing in that house that was mine. A quiet upstairs bedroom with a window that faced the woods behind our house. It was small, but it felt like a world I could control. I decorated it with magazine cutouts, glued stars on the ceiling, and taped up my sketches. Every morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds and painted lines across my floor. It was my safe space. My only space. And then Lena barged in. She stood in the doorway, all smug in her glittery socks, and said, "Mom says I'm moving in here. This room is bigger, and I need space for my new study corner." I blinked at her, thinking she had misunderstood. "No. This is my room," I said, standing up. She just shrugged and walked away, as if the conversation was already over. When I came home from school the next day, my world shifted. My things had been moved without warning. My desk, my clothes, my art, all shoved into a tiny room next to the laundry. Lena's name was now taped to my old bedroom door in perfect gold letters. Inside, I could see a new ergonomic chair, a white modern study desk, and bins of new learning tools stacked neatly in rows. The new room I'd been given was dark and narrow. My bed touched the wall. My knees bumped into the desk. There was barely space to stand without hitting something. I stormed to the living room and called out, "Mom, why would you do this? That was my room. I've had it since I was little." She didn't even turn around. "You're older now. You should learn to give way. Lena needs it more. Don't make a scene, Nova." I didn't make a scene. I walked back to the cramped room, shut the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. The only light came from the hallway, just a pale sliver sliding in through the crack under the door. That night, for the first time, I understood. In this house, I wasn't loved. I was tolerated. Senior year came with a mix of pressure and silent hope. I had worked quietly for years, applying for scholarships, studying late nights, joining business clubs while Lena was chauffeured to private school in a new SUV. She had tutors, mentors, and access. I had a public school education, sneakers worn thin, and no help. But I never complained. I was used to being invisible. Still, a small part of me believed that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. That evening, our grandparents Henry and Gloria came over for dinner. They were the only people in the family who ever truly looked at me like I mattered. They asked how I was doing, brought me books, remembered my small wins. I always sat a little straighter when they were around. We were sitting at the dining table, eating my mother's baked lasagna. Lena was, as usual, in the spotlight, talking excitedly about her summer program at an Ivy League prep academy. "It's invite only," she said, twirling her fork. "Most people don't even get considered." Grandma Gloria smiled kindly. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," she said. Then she turned to me. "And what about you, Nova? Have you thought about college yet?" My heart leapt. Someone was finally asking. I placed my fork down and said proudly, "I applied to the University of Westford and Evercrest State. I just got accepted into Westford's business program with a partial scholarship. If I can secure the rest in aid, I'll be able to attend." There was a moment of silence. Then, my mother Marcia set down her utensils with a sharp sound. Her voice was cold. "Nova, your father and I have discussed this. We won't be able to help with your tuition this year." I blinked.
"What?"
"But you always said the college fund was for both of us." My father, Calvin, jumped in like he had memorized the line. "We've decided to focus on Lena. Her prep program is more important right now. She has a real chance at the Ivy League." I froze. I couldn't breathe for a second. "So, all the money you saved, it's for Lena?" My mother sighed. "Lena has potential that needs support. You might want to try community college or take a break and work." That's not a bad option. That phrase hit me like a slap. I had worked alone for years, getting up early, skipping lunches, saving just enough to print applications. And now I was told to lower my dreams. Again, the table went quiet. Even Lena stopped talking. Then, softly, Grandma Gloria put her spoon down. "Marcia," she said, "both girls are my granddaughters. I can't sit here and watch one of them be ignored." My mother rolled her eyes. "Mom, this isn't your concern." "Yes, it is," Grandpa Henry said firmly. "It's absolutely our concern." After dinner, as I was clearing the plates, Grandma Gloria came beside me. She placed her hand gently on my shoulder and said, "You don't have to carry this alone, Nova. We'll pay for your college. All of it. No loans." Tears filled my eyes. "But that's too much. I can't accept." "It's not too much when it's for someone who tries," she smiled. "You already shine, Nova. You don't need favoritism." That fall, I moved into the dorms at the University of Westford. My mother gave me a dry hug and whispered, "Be careful with money. Don't expect anything from us." Lena didn't even look up from her phone. As I rolled my suitcase away from the house I used to dream about, I realized something. I didn't need their approval anymore. College was nothing like home. For the first time in my life, people saw me. Professors praised my work. Classmates came to me for help. I wasn't in someone else's shadow. I was Nova. And that was enough. Every weekend, I called Gloria and Henry to share updates, my midterms, being elected treasurer, and my part-time job at a coffee shop. They always listened. They never missed a moment. My parents never called. Not even once. But I didn't feel empty. That hole in me was slowly filling, with purpose, with growth, and with peace. In my final year, something amazing happened. One of my finance professors, Dr. Holland, pulled me aside after class. "Nova," he said, "you're sharp. I want to recommend you for a summer internship at Stonewell and Pierce Capital. It's very competitive, but I think you have a real chance." I applied that night. The interview was in a modern boardroom. 3 managers in suits sat across from me. One of them asked, "What's the most important part of an investment strategy?" I smiled. Not just the data, but understanding the emotions behind it. Markets move because of people. They looked at each other and nodded. 3 days later, I got the offer. That summer changed everything. I learned to read trends, understand risk, and give strong presentations. I stayed late, soaking up every lesson. When I graduated with honors, Stonewell and Pierce offered me a full-time job as a junior investment analyst. I said yes. But I didn't stop there. In my free time, I started working on something new, an algorithm I called Prism. It used emotions, social trends, and real-world events to predict the market. People said those things couldn't be measured. I wanted to prove they could. And I did. Prism predicted 3 major market shifts before they happened. My bosses noticed. They used Prism in the company's strategy. Profits grew fast. By the time I was 27, I became Chief Strategic Investment Officer, the youngest in company history. I didn't throw a party. I didn't post it online. Instead, I went to my grandparents' house. Gloria was baking. Henry was on the porch. I placed the appointment letter on the table. They looked at it, then at me, then smiled. "Little Nova," Grandpa Henry said, now leading the big table. I hugged them, and I knew this was all I ever needed. Not applause, just their belief. After I was promoted, I planned a small celebration. Nothing fancy, just some friends, coworkers, music, and food. I wanted to honor Gloria and Henry most of all. When I told my mother about the promotion, her response surprised me. "You should let us host the party," she said. "Have it here, at home. It'll bring the family together." I hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Of course," she said. "Just send the money for food and decorations. I'll handle the guests." Maybe I wanted to believe she had changed. Maybe I thought she was proud. I transferred $5,000 to her. I didn't question anything. I let her plan it. The party was set for Saturday night. I arrived early, wearing a navy dress and holding a thank you card for my grandparents. The house looked too fancy. White flowers, gold ribbons, classical music playing. A waiter in a vest passed with drinks. "You look beautiful," Gloria said, hugging me. "We're proud of you," Henry added. I smiled, until I looked up. Lena stood at the top of the stairs, wearing a red gown, arm in arm with a tall man I didn't know. Her makeup perfect, her heels shining. People started turning toward her as if it was her night. Just as I raised my glass to start my speech, my mother stepped forward, smiling proudly. "Dear family," she said, "we're not just here to reconnect. We're here to celebrate something special. Lena and her amazing boyfriend, Travis, are now engaged." The room filled with claps and cheers. I stood still. I looked at my mother. Her eyes slid past me, like I wasn't even there. Like the $5,000 I gave had paid for someone else's celebration. I stepped forward. "Excuse me, may I say something for a moment?" Everyone quieted. Lena paused at the last step. "This gathering today," I began, "was planned to celebrate something important in my career. I was recently named Chief Strategic Investment Officer at Stonewell and Pierce Capital." People looked around, puzzled. I continued. "I paid $5,000 for this event. I transferred the money to my mother for food, decorations, and setup." Gloria stiffened beside me. No one told me this would be changed into an engagement party. Whispers spread through the crowd. My father stood awkwardly. Lena's face turned red. "I'm not here to ruin anything," I said calmly. "But I won't be ignored anymore. Not today." Across the room, Travis looked at Lena. You told me this was just a family get-together.
I,
I didn't want to make it all about me, she said, nervous. I thought we could share. By using your sister's money to make your announcement? He asked sharply. I came here to support a family event, not to see someone pushed aside. He placed his glass on a table and left. Lena looked pale and followed him quickly. The room was silent. Then everything changed. My mother lost control. For a moment, no one moved. It was like the room was frozen. Then I heard it, the sound of a microphone stand scraping across the floor. I turned just in time to see my mother, Marcia, gripping the metal microphone tightly, her face filled with rage. Her eyes were locked on me. You ungrateful girl, she shouted. After everything we've done for you, how dare you shame this family? Before anyone could react, she lifted the microphone and hit me on the side of my head. There was a loud crack. I stumbled back. My vision blurred. I felt a burning pain and warm blood on my temple. Gasps filled the room. Someone screamed. A glass fell and shattered. Oh my God, someone yelled. She hit her. Everything turned chaotic. Gloria ran to me and held me up. Henry was already on the phone. She's bleeding. Call 911. Gloria cried. Henry had already done it. This is Henry Dalton. We need police and an ambulance at 1213 Maple Hill Road. My granddaughter was assaulted. Yes, by her mother. Marcia stood there, still holding the microphone, her face wild. My father tried to pull her back. You've done enough, he said, but it was too late. In 10 minutes, flashing red and blue lights lit up the house. Police entered with paramedics. A female officer saw me sitting in a chair, pressing gauze to my bleeding head, and went straight to Marcia. Ma'am, drop the microphone and show me your hands. It was a mistake, Marcia said. She made me angry. Ma'am, step away. The sound of handcuffs clicked. The room fell silent again. Marcia screamed as they took her out. Nova, you ruined everything. You'll regret this. I didn't answer. I looked at Gloria, still holding my hand. The paramedics placed me on the stretcher. As the ambulance doors closed, I saw Lena standing at the edge of the lawn in her red dress, watching silently as the police car took our mother away. Travis was gone. The party was over. And this time, I wasn't the one leaving in shame. The hospital ceiling was white and bright. I lay in a hospital bed, with gauze wrapped around my head. Pain pulsed near my right ear, where the microphone hit me. A nurse checked the IV beside me. Another checked my pulse. But what I remember most was the feeling of 2 hands holding mine. Gloria's on one side. Henry's on the other. They hadn't left me since the moment I was put in the ambulance. You're safe now, Gloria whispered. She won't touch you again. The doctors wrote everything down. Photos were taken of the injury, the blood, and my torn dress. The doctor made a full report. A copy was already sent to the police. I wasn't just going to heal, I was going to take action. By the next evening, I was released. There was no talk about going home. Gloria and Henry had already made space in their house. You're staying with us, Henry said. No questions. Their home wasn't big. It didn't have fancy things. But it had peace. That night, I slept without fear. No cold words. No pretending. The next morning, at breakfast, Gloria placed her hand on mine. Nova, she said gently, we need to talk about what comes next. I nodded. You don't have to let this go. She didn't just hurt you. What she did was a crime. I know, I said. And I won't let her get away with it. Henry added, we'll get a lawyer. We'll file a case. Not just for this attack, but for everything she's done to you. And we did. Later that week, with my grandparents by my side, I met with a lawyer. We filed charges against Marcia for hitting me with a dangerous object, causing injury, public violence, years of emotional and psychological abuse now documented. I gave them the hospital records, witness statements, police report, and my full story. The attorney looked me in the eye and said, this won't be easy, but it's the right thing to do. You have a strong case. I nodded. I've been quiet my whole life. This is the first time I'm going to speak up legally. The courthouse in Brookhaven felt cold and serious. I walked through the large doors wearing a navy blazer and soft-heeled shoes. My shoulders were straight. My jaw was set. I wasn't here to ask for sympathy. I was here for justice. Judge Thomas Weller was in charge of the case. He was calm and firm, known for being fair and very precise. The courtroom was full of people. Relatives, old neighbors, even some co-workers of my parents had come to watch. No one expected this trial to happen. Marcia sat at the defendant's table, wearing a gray outfit. Her eyes were hollow, but full of denial. Calvin sat behind her, arms crossed, head down, not in shame, but because the attention wasn't on his favorite child. Lena wasn't there. Maybe she felt guilty. Maybe just ashamed. But she didn't come. The prosecutor explained everything step by step. The medical report showing the injury from the microphone. Photos of the blood on my face and dress. Police records confirming Marcia's arrest. Witness reports from Gloria and Henry describing years of verbal abuse and neglect. I stood to speak. My voice was steady. She didn't just hit me with a microphone. She hit me with years of being told I wasn't good enough. This attack wasn't random. It had been building for a long time. Then I looked at the judge. It has to stop here. The defense tried to say it was just a moment of anger, that I provoked her, that my speech embarrassed her. But Judge Weller didn't flinch. When everyone was done, he spoke clearly. This court does not allow violence, especially when it comes from deep emotional harm and public humiliation. Marcia Dalton, you are sentenced to 4 years in state prison. There is no early release. You must also attend anger management and mental health counseling while in prison. The courtroom went silent. My mother's face collapsed. She screamed my name, then turned to Gloria. You turned her against me. This is your fault. But Gloria sat tall and calm. No, she said softly. You did this to yourself. As they took Marcia away in handcuffs, I felt something new. Not joy. Not revenge. Just peace. The kind I never felt when I lived under her roof. The next morning, the local newspaper wrote, Mother sentenced to 4 years for assaulting daughter at family event. But beyond the court, things changed more quietly. Lena's engagement to Travis ended that night. He never called her again. She posted quotes on social media for a while, but the attention faded. She left her fashion course. Tried starting a blog, but quit. In the end, she moved back into her childhood bedroom. And Calvin? When Gloria and Henry updated their will, they made it clear. Everything, the house, savings, and investments, will go to Nova. Lena and Calvin will get nothing. They didn't argue. Gloria put it best. We don't reward cruelty with comfort. Their estate wasn't huge, but it was meaningful. A paid-off home. Years of savings. Investments in clean energy companies. Henry said it like this. It's not just about money. It's about choosing the person who lived with truth. That's why we chose you. I never asked for it. I never expected it. But they gave it to me because I never had to hurt others to succeed. 3 months later, I returned to work at Stonewell and Pierce. I was more focused, more confident, more sure of who I was. Every Sunday, I visited Gloria and Henry. We played board games, watched cooking shows, and looked at old family albums. Gloria always baked something new. Henry loved hearing me retell the story, even when he pretended he forgot it. One afternoon, after a big meeting, I walked through the company lobby. And there she was, Lena, standing alone. She looked thinner, pale, still stylish, but empty. She didn't greet me. She just said, I'm not here to say sorry. I just don't get it. How are you doing so well? No one helped you. I looked at her, the sister who always had more, but never made more of it. Because I had nothing, I said softly. And that's when I learned to stand alone. You've never had to do that. She didn't answer. She just walked away. I don't know if Lena will ever change, or if Calvin really sees what he lost. But I know this. I don't need anyone's approval to feel worthy. I won't accept silence in place of love. And I'll never dim my light to make someone else shine. This story isn't just about revenge. It's about choosing yourself, even when your own family doesn't. Today, I still have a scar on my temple from the microphone, but it doesn't hurt anymore, because now I speak louder than ever. Thank you for watching this story. If it touched your heart, please like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more true and powerful stories. Your support helps us share voices that deserve to be heard. We'll see you in the next one.